Being 6:30, I'm calling this meeting of the Manchester by the Sea Select Board to order. Jeff.
Yeah.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Anne is here.
John, yes.
Okay. Are there any public, this meeting is being recorded. Are there any public comments on non-agenda items? Yes.
Hi.
And identify yourself and your address.
Sarah Davis, 11 Highland Avenue. Before the comments, my children had a request if we could do the Pledge of Allegiance, which they have recently learned at Memorial. Is that allowed, or? I
I
explained to them government and they said, are we gonna do the Pledge of Allegiance?
I'm sorry, I
Okay.
just don't see it.
Yeah, okay. All right, it's not part of the meeting. So I think you probably have gotten emails from myself, this is my husband Justin, today about the situation on Bridge Street with the parking and the landmark pickup. And I think there's been some progress today. I understand some of which I think was started by Justin going to the police within the last week or so. But the point is that if you've driven on Bridge Street between mainly 2 and 3, there are usually about 30 cars lined up. Many of those cars come in from the Beverly direction to Manchester and either do a U-turn or a 3-point turn to get into that side of the street to go to Landmark, which is obviously pretty dangerous. And they also park along the sidewalk, or if they're not on the sidewalk, they're on the road. And that gets particularly dangerous around the Jersey Lane entrance because there's kind of a curve right there where you can't see. As residents of Highland, it's obviously particularly dangerous around there because when we come out of Highland to make either a right or a left, we really can't see. You have to really pull out in order to make a turn, and it's always very nerve-wracking. And we've had a couple neighbors come very close to hitting each other. We know that I think through the town and eventually the state, there are 2 no parking zones that have been created on either side, which have helped, but it's still not quite enough to allow visibility. So I don't know if this is possible to do at the meeting, but if there's a way to make a meeting, motion either today or in the future. Some of us have talked about, including Arthur Steiner, who used to be on the select board, if we could specifically say that they cannot park on Highland, because we're worried that if the school learns that they are no longer supposed to park on Bridge Street, that they might then consider Highland. So that's all I have to say. I think Justin might want to add something.
Justin Davis, 11 Highland Avenue. I had the opportunity to speak with Chief Fitzgerald and Officer Cleary about September 2nd or 3rd of this year. Talked to them a little bit about some traffic issues and concerns we had related to Landmark. The vehicles that park there primarily between like 1:30 and 3 consistently block the sidewalks, even though they're not supposed to block the sidewalks, but that blocks pedestrian traffic. There are incredible number of U-turns. I sat there today between the hours of 12 and 3 o'clock. It was just as fun as you would imagine. But about 80% of the vehicles that are going to Landmark come from Grapevine Beverly Farms area and then complete a U-turn or a 3-point turn in order to get in that westbound lane. And so 80% of the vehicles are completing questionably safe traffic maneuvers in order to get in that line. And I think that's you can eliminate 80% of danger by eliminating those U-turns. Additionally, the 3-point turns, oftentimes they happen anywhere along 127, but including intersections. Consistently, there are lines more than 30 vehicles along and heading westbound in that area. In places between Boardman Avenue and the Landmark School, there is no curb. And so those vehicles can either park on the sidewalk, or in some cases, there's enough room for them to park between the sidewalk and the road and be sufficiently off the road. Once you get to Boardman Avenue, past Boardman Avenue to Jersey Lane, there is a sidewalk. And for those vehicles that are further towards Manchester, but still pointing westbound, they are at least half in the road. Consequently, what happens is these vehicles that are blocking the westbound road are causing other vehicles that are traveling westbound to be more than halfway into eastbound lanes when they are heading toward Beverly Farms, right? So you got cars that are parked in the westbound lane heading to Beverly Farms. They're parked waiting to get in there. The other cars that are going towards Beverly Farms have to be halfway in the opposite direction. It creates a real problem. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. They are not always halfway in the other lane. Sometimes they are fully in the other lane, especially if you're talking about like, you know, emergency vehicles like fire trucks or whatever. Instead of so those are kind of the 7 concerns we have. And I think you heard from a number of, well, Sarah and a number of our neighbors about these problems. Earlier this evening, I sent all of you an email. In that email, I included a link. Over the last 2 weeks, I created a video that recorded a variety of these hijinks that happen along 127 there. Hopefully, you'll be able to see for yourself the multiple and varied, you know, examples of danger that happen along there. In speaking with Chief Fitzgerald, he had the opportunity, he was going to take the opportunity to talk to the headmaster at Landmark. I believe that meeting happened earlier today. The outcome of that, I wasn't in person, but I heard positive things from that, and I'm encouraged by that. I'd like to see follow through by that, not just by the Manchester Police Department, but the select board, the town administrator, and most importantly, Landmark School. We don't think that, you know, their convenience for pickup should come at the cost of our safety for ours in that area or anybody who travels along 127. And as a result of the conversation today, my understanding is that they're going to make an effort not to park anywhere along 127 going forward as they're doing a pickup. I hope that's the case. That would be the fastest response to like anything that I've ever accomplished in my life. So I will put that as a feather in my cap. It's the luckiest I've ever been. But that being said, to the extent that that doesn't happen, or they use Highland as, or want to use Highland as a solution there, we would just ask you to make a motion tonight preventing them from using Highland as a overflow situation for them, and then, you know, blocking their ability to park along Highland, you know, as they queue up for pickups. So thank you for your great work. I appreciate your ear, and if there's anything we can do, please let us know. I think that this video will really speak for itself. Thanks for your time.
So thank you for coming tonight and for speaking to the board, and thank you for your emails. It isn't on the agenda tonight, so the select board can't make a motion to that. But I did speak with Chief Fitzgerald. He spoke with the dean and the headmaster at Landmark today. They are already communicating to the bus drivers and parents that there's no parking on 127. There really shouldn't be parking on that road anyways. And we talked a little bit about adding some no parking signs on Highland Ave because we expect there's going to be a trickle down effect. If they can't be on 127, where are they going to go? So we're looking into that too. You know, unfortunately, this problem, you know, there'll be pickup tomorrow and the next day, so it's a hard problem to solve overnight. And we have a number of schools that have pickup around the same time, and our officers are being pulled in many different directions to help with traffic flow issues. I'd say the biggest element here that I was encouraged by is the push from the town to Landmark that they really need to create a solution on their own property for pickup. That certainly won't happen overnight, but they seem to be open to the idea of trying to help build some space for queuing up a pickup on the property. Their current conditions don't really allow for it because of the need for emergency vehicles to access the fire lane. So we're gonna keep a close eye on it. Consider adding no stop signs, no parking signs on Highland. And really continue to push Landmark to come up with a solution.
Excuse me, and to that point, I know that the chief is reaching out to the state, because 127 is a state road. Right, and he's talking to them about getting no parking signs on 127 itself.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, so can you follow up with Landmark in, say, a couple of weeks, or will the chief do that? Because
He's up, yeah, we talked about that. today.
the key thing is Plan B, because these people will want to be somewhere.
Mhm.
Well, I mean,
You
and
can't
other
just say don't show.
other schools have one of their employees or whatever direct traffic too. It doesn't have to be police officers from the town of Manchester. So they can devote their own resources, their own money to
Mhm.
properly directing traffic
Mhm.
and I would hope that would be one of the proposed options.
Chief said that they were appreciative of the issue, that they're trying to be responsive and be helpful or collaborative with us to solve it, so.
Where do we put that, as an item for our next meeting that to follow up on?
Yeah, add that to the action
Yep.
item list.
Is there anyone else? I mean, can you see if there's anybody online? I was expecting somebody, but
I don't see anyone in the chat,
no, we don't use
Raise
chat at
hand.
all.
and no one's raising their hand.
No one's raising their hand. Okay, and I don't see. I don't see the name of the person I was expecting, so that's fine. Okay, the chairman's report, I got a call from a citizen who is concerned about, the, immigration and customs enforcement, and would like to have the follow up, see what we can do, in terms of working with neighboring towns in Gloucester and, just- yeah. I think this needs some thought and discussion.
For what end?
I don't understand.
Like what was the concern they
The
expressed?
concern was people in masks and unmarked cars
Okay.
snatching people off the street.
Because we've had a lot of that in this town.
You had any?
Oh,
Well, I did get a call and I told them,
I haven't.
okay,
okay.
fine. The. That is all of my chairman's report, action items.
The only other thing, on the action items, I had asked if we could put the Ocean Street options development
Mhm.
on the action item list. I don't see it on the current action item list, so if we could just so we don't forget it and, we've got the $100,000 approved by the town, so just gotta understand what those next steps are, but we should have some target date for when, we expect to be able to deliberate on those options.
And, I would like to put a discussion of the Manchester Marine moorings that have been assigned in the past 3 years. On for next week, the
October 6th.
October 6th.
Just a question on that action. Did we already have an action? I don't recall if it was completed or not for members of the select board. I thought it was Jeff and Brian to do some sort of an audit, not audit's not the right word.
There has been,
Was that performed? Yet, if not, we should keep it on the action item list.
I kind of performed it, but I didn't really come up with an issue, to be honest with you.
So when we talk about it, I guess, if it's already been done, then when we talk about it, I'd like to understand the result of their investigation or audit, whatever we're gonna call it. And if it hasn't been done, then I'd like to see it done
Yeah.
before we have another discussion. That was my only reason for bringing it up.
I think that there is a problem specifically with the Manchester Marine. Law.
Range.
Yeah, well, we had, that's an item down the road anyway.
See it on the action item list.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, we're supposed to have a discussion about that in the fall.
We were gonna
talked
wait
about-
until after the season.
It is after the
is.
season.
No,
I
I'm saying,
know,
so-
but that's, so it,
Yeah, so I think that fits. Talk about that at our next meeting.
in with your other concerns, or is this separate?
This is a very specific Manchester Marine issue.
No, I'm saying your first concern that you. Is,
Oh.
is this gonna be one discussion or is this gonna be two discussions?
I think I would like to discuss the mooring permits that were assigned to Manchester Marine in the past 3 years. There are other issues in the harbor, but I think that particular one rises to the top.
Is the provisional policy.
There's the provisional policy.
Which is part of
about
it.
How it's been enforced, but
Okay,
just for this one, just the assignment of mooring permits.
Mhm.
I have another request, and that is that we, move the discussion of possible vote for the town meeting, up immediately after the tree hearing. Because, Eli wants to hear it and he needs to leave at 7:30. Okay. We will,
Got the tree down, we done, let's go.
proceed to the tree hearing.
Move the select board open the public tree hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Jeff,
Aye.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy.
Yes.
Anne says yes, John.
John, yes.
Okay. Tom, do you want to?
Want me to make my opening comment?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, if this is a tree that's been in decline for a few years now. The center post, it's a 3 liter tree and the center post is rotten right down to the base almost. And you have 2 remaining relatively healthy leaders, but my concern would be that is into the structural integrity of the tree, so to speak, and I would support removal of the tree. Normally, I try to save any tree with a possibility, but we have both these remaining pieces are left. One leans over their driveway, one leans over the road. And I would also, its condition, the way it sits in its location, I'd consider it a safety hazard to the public now as it sits.
Yes,
I'm Jody Morse, 11 Jersey Lane, and I'm here to represent the Friends of Manchester Trees, which is a 501c3 here in Manchester. And I've looked at the tree, I've talked to Tom about it, and I just wanted to support his conclusion that the tree should be removed.
there's someone called Susan's iPhone has a hand up. Would you unmute
Sorry,
yourself?
yes, there we go. Susan Potter, I'm 32 C Street, and so the tree is at the base of our driveway. And we had been the people who submitted the tree for consideration to the tree warden. We enthusiastically support its removal. We love trees, but this one, you can see daylight through the other side of it, through the about 12-foot scar through that center piece of it. So it's rotten all the way through to the other side. And so we do believe it is actually a hazard, not only to passerbyers on the street, but also our neighbor's house, which would be where it would be headed if it fell.
Thank you. Any comment from the board?
Tree, it's not a good looking tree.
Okay,
So I move that the select board close the evidentiary portion of the hearing.
Second.
John,
Yes.
Anne says yes, Kathy.
Yes.
Brian and
Yes.
Jeff.
Yes.
Okay.
I move that the select board remove the red swamp maple tree at 32 C Street.
Second.
Yes.
Anne says yes.
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 Okay, thank you all very much. Okay, the next,
John said close.
oh, yes. No,
Okay.
we are,
We
the
closed.
evidentiary is here, I think we closed it, and then we had a vote.
No, it's the public hearing.
Okay,
Did we already? We did the evidentiary. Then we took.
okay, now we've got to close the public hearing.
Yeah.
Just the evidence. Okay, so I move the board close the public hearing.
Second.
Second. John?
Yes.
Anne says yes, Kathy?
Yes.
Brian
Yes.
and Jeff?
Yes.
Okay. The, we've moved the discussion and possible vote to set a town meeting date up ahead of the, Colonial Power Group. Who would like to introduce this?
Well, the chair of the
Yes.
planning board is here,
Mhm.
as is Mark from our town planner. The planning board's been working on a number of articles, mainly a downtown district rezoning article and a few others that are in your packet. I'll let them speak to that. They had a working group meeting today to talk more about where they are in the process. We looked at a calendar of, if we were to have a special town meeting at our last select board meeting, we said it would probably need to be the 17th of November. Just looking at that date and backdating all the different, items that would need to take place, we would have to make that vote tonight. If we set a special town meeting date for Monday, November 17th, the planning board articles would need to be submitted to us and sent back to the planning board at our next select board meeting on Monday, October 6th. With that, as well as Eli was mentioning at our last meeting, for a special town meeting, there's a 28-day period prior to the town meeting that article submissions are required. That's Monday, October 20th. However, as Eli mentioned, our preference would be to give more notice to people who may want to submit an article and have them submitted to us a couple weeks prior to that, so we can review them for legal review and any type of issue, which really puts you to our Monday, October 6th date as well. So that's why we really have to make the decision today if we do want to set a special town meeting. So with that, I think the planning board chair can give us an update on where the planning board is.
Thank you. Just to remind you that the planning board feels very strongly that as I think you've heard from including the EPA process in our workshop back in June and July, that people want a vibrant downtown, and zoning is just one piece of that. There's trying to protect the commercial residential first floor use from development pressures, financial development pressures that might come along. And we see it as an important planning thing, and so much of our work lately has been in response to housekeeping or state mandates, and this is really looking forward on an issue that we feel is. That said, Greg and I talked about this back in April and agreed that it was, a easy thing to do. And of course, everybody would agree with it. It would be easy to pass, easy to draft. not always the case, and as we've gotten into the details, Mark has worked really hard to pull together a draft. We have a consultant, Kathy McCabe, who's helped us. And we realized that, of course, the devil's in the details. There are a few details and that keep emerging as we think through this. We've also heard a lot from some of the downtown landowners. But at the same time, we've also heard from the Downtown Improvement Committee and other citizens that this is a very important issue. So we're still trying to balance that. When we talked this morning, we kind of agreed that we would like more time and to put this on the spring town meeting. But that said, we really want your support to help us work through this, to help us recognize, assuming you agree, but that help us to underscore that this is an important planning initiative. And so we, hope to be ready for the spring town meeting and have some forums and all of the things that I know we've come now to expect. But today we said, we really think we would be best served and the town would be best served if we wait. That said, again, there's risk. There's risk that we could put it before the voters at town meeting in November and it might not pass. But I think there's also risk that now that we've raised the issue that people could take action sooner than they might otherwise have. I don't have a crystal ball into the future about what anybody is going to do. Certainly, we've been having, productive conversations with landowners who have come to our meetings and given us some really good input. But this is also a town issue, not just an issue around downtown land owners or business owners. That might or might not be the same thing, of course. Also, we had put a couple other issues. If we had a fall town meeting, we put a couple other issues forward, particularly senior housing as an important thing. We still see that as important. We have a inherited hodgepodge of definitions in our zoning about senior housing and a very outdated look at what senior housing facilities where they should go and how they're defined. So at the very least, I think we would like to clean that up and then create a framework for a broader discussion of senior housing as a policy initiative going forward. So I think we would be looking to put both those things on the town meeting. And of course, what I see is largely an administrative tidying up of the curb cut process that we've mentioned before is still out there. So I think we can foresee 3 meetings and hopefully we will have had time for robust public input and public understanding of the issues, because it seems that it's not quite as simple a no-brainer as we originally thought, or we have yet to communicate it in such a way that it is a simple no-brainer. So that's where we are. Anything you want to add?
No, I think anytime you're doing even though it may not be a significantly large portion of the town, it's perceived as a significant piece of the town because it is the downtown. And anytime you work through a piece of the town that people feel are really important, it takes time to work out all the little details and get through the process. So I think the delay will help us do that, as well as help to, and which worked really well in this community, do some of the similar types of outreach that we did with the MBTA district for reaching members of the general public who are the ones who would vote on this. So.
One of the things I'd like to add, we didn't talk about this, but I think it's a good practice if one of you could be our point person for the board on this issue and work you know, directly with us so that you can report back to the board and have somebody on the board who's knowledgeable about the issue, and can, help the board, you know, as it comes up, if we're not here, having someone, so that doesn't have to be tonight, but, if you can, figure out somebody that would work, be our kind of a, doesn't have to come to all our meetings and all that, but can be the point person for the board. So that's where we are. So I guess our recommendation from this planning board is that we put this issue on the spring town meeting. But our intent is to be ready and have it ready to go.
Comments from the board?
Yeah, I mean, if the planning board is I mean, you outlined the risk very well. The risk is that property owners are gonna understand that this is coming and they'll take advantage of the 7 months and do something while we're, you know, revisiting, you know, the language in our zone.
And so excuse me for interrupting, you may also see this as an opportunity.
Right.
For their, for them,
So-
for the future too.
Right.
It's hard to.
Like, so as I was saying, though, if you're comfortable with the level of risk, it's your decision as a board when to bring this stuff forward. So I think that's fine. The only thing I would ask is, I really love, by the way, I love the collateral that you guys shared with us, you know, the timeline, the map, I thought it was all excellent. I would just ask for a revised timeline so that we don't get into a situation where in February, while we're all dealing with the budget, we also have a bunch, you know, 10 other last minute meetings we have to have for this zoning issue. So if we could have a nice timeline which tries to front end as much of the engagement as you're gonna need, you know, from the public and from this board, I
Definitely.
appreciate that. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. But, go ahead.
No, I'm just to say that I was uncomfortable having, I didn't think that we're ready at this point. And I didn't want to repeat of 3 years ago,
Mhm.
a special town meeting.
No.
I prefer that we cross the Ts, dot the Is. And I think we learned a lesson with the MBTA zoning. And I've always said I'm the lowest common denominator, and I didn't understand exactly what was trying to be accomplished right now. And I expect that was pretty much been 80% of the population at this point. So I'd like to clean it up and let's get the message out.
I'm at planning and zoning engenders as much information, interest, I think, as much as the dogs on the beach, I would say.
That's coming up soon.
It's coming up, yeah. But you've laid out a kind of a forum schedule, and I would hope that you kind of adhere to that because time just keeps rolling by. And you need, I think, input broadly from the community. You've got input from, I guess, you know, those who are most involved in town government or from its pet project, but you really need to have a broader interest. So I assume the plan is still to have something maybe in early October and then another one in November and then say, oh, maybe we need another one in December. I don't know.
We have some forums. I don't know exactly. We also have a couple of people with personal stuff going on that
Sure.
we need to work around. That's.
Okay, all right. We will keep.
We will get it. We will do our best to communicate within our capabilities.
All right.
So for sure.
Our hope is that in April, the agenda doesn't get so cluttered that this becomes one of, you know, a half a dozen other items, because there are always a half a dozen standard items that we have to deal with, so.
Understood. And that is a concern for us.
Yes.
We talked a little bit about whether, you know, a February town meeting. I don't think that's, I don't think
That's
that's
a little tough.
but there have been June town meetings. So yeah, the other thing I just want to respond to Brian. The intent of this has always been, first and foremost, to put into zoning largely what you see on the ground today in terms of uses of commercial property on the first floor. That's the broad intent in the general area where you see that. Now, there's obviously definition around that, but if you don't understand it is important that you understand the intent, and I don't think we talked about intent this morning. That's the intent. It's to respond to the market pressure for residential units that could drive over time conversions, given our current zoning, from commercial to residential by right. So that's the intent.
And I have no problem with that, but I just want for clarity. I'm concerned, okay, that the market's gonna drive this. This is going to be, you can't legislate or zone business to succeed. All right,
For sure.
and as a result, I'm concerned about vacant storefronts. All right, and so I wanna see, I personally wanna see how we address all of this. And I don't wanna leave property owners footing the bill and see vacant storefronts. We're very fortunate, we've got some stuff going on up this side of town, and hopefully that'll spill downtown. And again, let the market dictate what's gonna happen. All right, and that's my concern.
Well, this is certainly economic development, the downtown improvement committee has, you know, working closely with them, but zoning is not the only solution to the problem.
Absolutely. I think we gotta find the right product that goes into these storefronts.
Yeah, I think that's true.
We have to stop, people have to stop. I've said this before, looking at the zip code and their price point for the zip code. Okay, because frankly, we've got to find businesses that support the locals, and when you're, and again, this is not for this discussion, but when you're pricing it for 01944 and it's, you know, it just all of a sudden becomes untenable. That's something for discussion for another day,
Perhaps even another
another meeting, another group. And actually, this came up in the forum we had back in June too. So that's my point. And, you know, I want to see how it's developed and how it's presented. And I think if you get it done, you know.
I think the planning board's consensus, I think unanimous consensus, is that if we lose the first floor into residential, that it'll be virtually impossible to get it back. The flip, though, is if you have a commercial, if we're wrong, we try to work on to preserve commercial on the first floor, and the market forces are so make commercial impossible in Manchester, you can convert those to residential at that point. But the flip is very hard to get.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, once you lose it, it's gone.
Once you lose it, it's
I
gone.
can see that. I guess my really concern at this point is overloading a Springtown meeting.
That's definitely a legitimate concern to have. That's why we talked about potentially a special town meeting ahead of annual town meeting, but after the new year. As a possibility, or you could, you know, have them a couple weeks apart. You know, there's a lot of different options. You could have a multi-day annual town meeting. None of them are perfect solutions. I think what I was encouraged by was the work that the planning board was doing and the stakeholders being so involved. But the other element is if you're gonna have a town meeting, you wanna go to town meeting with as much consensus as possible for a successful vote. And unlike ADU or MBTA, we don't have a deadline on this. This is our own, you know, desire to do. And unfortunately, the way that the holidays work out and all the lead up process, it really puts a lot of pressure on the timing for November. So I think you know, ultimately, you want to choose the potential success over the timeline, right? So that's the decision that we're hearing today. If there's other alternatives we can consider to not have be at annual town meeting till midnight, we'll think about those too.
I'm sorry, what?
Using end of 2 Mondays.
I'll make one other point, if it's pretty late.
Oh, sorry.
One of the things that makes this very difficult, when you're doing the zoning, is we have to write things as the open meeting law, makes it very difficult to draft things the way you would do if you were working in the private sector where you would use track changes and everybody would be back and forth and you can do things quite quickly and somebody can say with a comment. Drafting things, documents with the open meeting law has become very challenging. I mean, I don't know if you guys draft many documents, but it ends up throwing a wrench into a lot of things. And so then also, so you have to put out, and this, we ran into this problem last week. We have to put out a draft for discussion that people think is final and react as if it's final so that we can just talk about it among ourselves. And so it's this really challenging process that is set up for us. And, you know, Mark has drafts things, and we try to give him comments, but it doesn't have that same collective process that you have when you talk about things or when you're commenting on things in a document that you do. I mean, I've done it many times now, and it is tough, and it adds a lot of time to it. And we unfortunately, don't get the benefit that you get in a collaborative document writing process that you have elsewhere in your professional lives. It is what it is.
Is there anyone present in the meeting who would like to make a comment? Yes.
My name is Rick Gibson. I live at 11 Tanglewood Road. The town is blessed with a downtown that punches at the weight of a town of 50,000 people. You have 2 barber shops, not one. You have a hardware store. You have all sorts of things that don't exist in other similar sized communities. Anything that makes it more difficult that to continue is, I think, needs to be very carefully considered, and this is why they need probably a year to figure out how to do this right. It is absolutely truly amazing. People, if you drive around this part of Essex County, look at the rest of the downtowns. It is vital, and I can't imagine why it still works, because there's very little traffic down there after dark anymore. The restaurants don't seem to be happily progressing, and this is a tough one.
To that point, excuse me, to that point, the reason you have a hardware store that works, the 2 barber shops that work, and a drugstore that works, okay, is that this is what the town needs, not what the town wants. And we have to separate needs and wants. Well, per your wish list. So
Okay,
that's what I'm saying, but anyway, that's just my point.
We're not ready.
Just following up on that, the most important thing is for us to get people in town to actually go to these businesses and not go to a big box out on Route 128.
I look forward to coming home all the time to see what Amazon delivered. It's like Christmas every day. But that's, okay, thank you.
Is there?
You want to ask Eli if he has any?
Yes.
Yeah, so just to summarize, my understanding from what I've just heard is the zoning for the downtown, those changes we don't view, or the planning board doesn't view it, they'll be ready in time or reasonably ready in time for a special town meeting in the fall. And therefore, there is not going to be a critical mass of material to put into a special fall town meeting for the fall, and the recommendation therefore is not to have one in November. Is that correct?
I believe that's what we heard.
Sounds like.
That's right here.
There were a whole lot of people who said stuff at there at the same time, and I think they said, yes, that's right. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any real comment to add. I suspect that's the correct decision. Putting in a couple little things just to keep the annual from being overburdened doesn't seem to make sense. There comes a point when it's not worth it. I certainly will have opinions about where a special should be placed relative to the annual, and I look forward to, having those conversations with folks in the near future.
Thank you.
Uh,
Is there anyone else here or on Zoom who wants to comment? Okay. Mr. Delaney?
Oh, we won't, you don't need.
There's no motion because we're having a town meeting. so-
Okay, fine. Okay. Fine, then I guess.
See you in April.
No, no, you better see us
Yeah, a lot
in
of-
January.
Sooner than that.
Okay. The next item is, the municipal aggregation program.
Yes. And I'd like to ask Mark Capadona and Denise Allard from Colonial Power. They're joining us on the call. So Manchester by the Sea approved the effort to pursue municipal aggregation. That process went forward to the DPU. Our contract was, or petition was approved by DPU. And so where we are in the process now is we seek out indicative pricing for the municipal aggregation. Ultimately, we would pursue a solicitation for executable pricing. Should you vote on that tonight, we will request that tomorrow morning. Those numbers will come in almost instantly, and then we have until tomorrow early afternoon to execute the contract. That's how quick the market changes. So before you tonight is a motion to authorize that process. Backing up a little bit, what will occur here is we're seeking out multiple levels of supply service. Right now, residential customers get basic service from National Grid. It's priced at about, is it 15 cents a kilowatt hour? The indicative pricing for a cheaper version of the same renewable supply resource that's included in your basic service comes in at around 14 cents per kilowatt hour. We can do a 11-month contract, a 24-month contract, a 36-month contract. It's actually 12, 24, and 36, but we're a month into that process. So what we see right now is that the indicative pricing shows a positive value to our residents where they will receive a cheaper price for compared to basic service. When we execute this, all members, all residents would be put into that category, a cheaper supply service. They'll be given the opportunity to select a change. They can go to a supply that is a little bit more expensive with more local renewable resources in it, or they can go to an even more expensive option that has 100% renewable resources locally sourced, or they can opt out of the program altogether and go back to National Grid. The other element to keep in mind is that if National Grid's pricing were to ever lower to something less than our cheapest option, residents can opt out at any time. So they can make that decision. So what we would do is really make sure that the public is aware of how our Colonial Power municipal aggregation price compares to National Grid. Their pricing changes every 6 months. So we can provide that update on a 6-month period and essentially give residents the information to make a decision for themselves.
So we can update with a cost comparison every 6 months.
Every time National Grid's pricing comes out, we can give an update. Mark or Denise, do you guys want to add anything to that?
But the only thing I would add is people can go back and forth at any time. So just to make sure everyone understands, if somebody opted out, you can get back in the program without fee or penalty. And the same thing exists for basic service. So all you're doing is bringing a choice that did not exist in the marketplace prior. And I will add one other thing. This is an opt-out municipal aggregation, meaning everyone that's on basic service will get a mailing. If they don't do anything, they'll be enrolled in the program. It doesn't mean they can't get out at any time. The 30-day window before the program starts that they can always get out of. But say they missed that window for whatever reason. Following month they get out, the following month after that they get out. So right out of the gate, it looks like there's probably about a penny and a half of savings or something. That's all I'd have to add.
Yeah, and I would just add that this is only on the supply side of your bill. We're not talking about the delivery side of your bill, right? That's a monopoly with National Grid. You're still going to get your billing from National Grid. If the power goes out, you're still going to call National Grid. It's just the supply side. So the second section down on your bill. And so any benefits you have with National Grid, budget billing, low income discount, anything like that, access to Mass Save, that's all comes from the utility. You don't lose any of that net metering credits, all that good stuff that comes from the utility, that stays intact. So no change there. So it's literally just the supply line item on your bill.
The indicative pricing that we received the other day, and it's subject, to the pricing that we get tomorrow. But based on the indicative pricing we got the other day, for the average user in Manchester by the Sea, the cheaper default plan here would save a little bit less than $8 a month for the resident. If you multiply that by the amount of residents that we or customers in our town, it adds up to about $21,400 a month in savings collectively.
So if I follow this, so every 6 months, the homeowners will get a note from you guys as to what your number is going to be and also what National Grid's number is at that point in time.
We'll do social media blasts and website updates.
Okay. And if they want to change at any other time in between those 2 6-month periods, it's on them to kind of look up and see, should I be changing?
Mhm.
But at least a minimum twice a year, it's pushed to you
Mhm.
as a consumer as to what the numbers are.
That's not what I heard. What I heard was the town will take the action to, update a website, not send out an email or send out.
That's what I
a
said,
mailing.
push it to you.
That's what I'm saying. That's not what.
Right, it won't be
I
a
heard.
mailer,
No.
but if people are signed up for text messages, or we can do that, we can do social media posts or update the
Okay.
website.
Okay.
Gonna
The
encourage people
initial,
to sign up for a subscription to get notified.
To get notified and that maybe something winds up, I don't know, in the Tide or some.
the initial process will include a mailer to all households.
Fine, okay.
Yeah, yes.
Question perhaps for these people. Again, my name is Rick Gibson, 11 Tanglewood Road. Many of us have been buying power from third parties for years, and the question that I have is how the opt-out is going to work on the initial bill. What I'm concerned about is from buying power, that it makes a big difference whether you're signing up for a deal in the winter or the summer. And that starting in about a month, the electric rates on the supply side start increasing dramatically. If you're about to launch into something which is going to force me to lose my current contract, which is better than any of the numbers you've spoken about tonight, uses 100% renewable energy without joining a premium VIP club, is going to be a problem if this forces me back out in the market to buy even more expensive electricity in January. So
Mark, Mark, could you answer the question for those who are
100%.
with a
So-
third
so-
party supplier?
Absolutely. So if somebody's on a third-party supply, well, they will not be automatic. Only customers on basic service would be automatically enrolled in the program. Everyone else would receive a postcard so that they could look, see what the town's rate is compared to what they currently have on third-party supply. And they could make that, comparison and decide whether either the third-party supply is a better rate, the aggregation, or go back to the third-party supplier and say, hey, can you meet or beat this rate? And if they can't, you could always join. We would always say to you, make sure you speak to your supplier because there could be a fee or penalty. But that gentleman will stay with his supplier. He'll be notified, but he will not receive an opt-out. Only people on basic service.
So as another way of saying this, existing National Grid supply customers are going to be automatically enrolled into the program.
Only.
Yes.
Only, right,
That
so
is correct.
if you are not a current National Grid customer for supply, because you get your supply from somewhere else, you will not automatically be enrolled in the program.
Okay, and,
So you're not gonna be touched,
okay.
but you'll get some messaging so that you will understand what the town's rates are and you can do
Right, and
your.
that's, I welcome the town and I'm
Yeah.
enthusiastic about having more suppliers.
Yeah.
My only reason for concern in this thing was there isn't a great deal of information available about what's been going on for the last 2 years on this thing. And I was curious to find out whether we're all going to be thrown out in the cold, but some of us are, some of us aren't. Great.
Yeah, the website that will be created will be specific to our community and we'll have a lot of information there.
And you agree that none of this exists at the moment in public.
Yeah, the average resident is not aware of how even their basic service rate changes. From a 6-month period, it's not common knowledge. The third-party supply option is a good one. Some of those are fixed rates, some of them are variable, and some of them come with penalty charges.
You have to know what you're buying and you have to pay attention because you always will get nailed if you let the thing roll over without doing anything.
This, through municipal aggregation, it's a fixed rate for whatever term length that we sign a contract for. And there are no penalties or fees for opting out at any point.
As is the case with Inspire Energy, who might have an agreement. with
That's good.
today.
It's a
Welcome
fixed,
to the
yeah,
market.
that's good.
Looking forward to it.
That's good.
Thank you.
The other element that we can make a decision on is the town does have through our DPU approval, we are able to add a small fee or I guess a little bit of an increase to that contract rate to help pay for an energy manager. Ultimately, it's a 1/10 of a cent. Is that right, Mark?
Correct.
It's a 1/10 of a cent to whatever those final rates are. I think it's a positive effect for the town. I would recommend that when we get the executable pricing, that Mark, Denise and I take a look at that and see how much savings we will provide the residents in that default pricing. And if adding that additional amount has a significant impact on that, that we don't do it. If it doesn't, then maybe we do it, but it's really dependent on, or let me ask you, Mark, can we decide to add that after we execute the contract, or we have to know that going into tomorrow?
So you could, it would just take a change to the ESA, Tony. So in that scenario, we'd be signing the ESA tomorrow, and you would have until the mailing went out to make that decision. But the power would be set. We would just be going up depending on what the town wanted to take. But you certainly could have some more time if required.
How much time before the mailer goes out if we sign tomorrow?
Yeah, the mailer would be going out in the middle of October, but we need to get the materials to the printer by the end of the month, so a couple weeks.
Okay, so maybe we just do,
So, yeah, here's why I'm uncomfortable with that, because it sounds, so you'd be reducing the savings a little bit, right? That sounds like the people who are enrolled in this program would be subsidizing the role of the town manager who works for everybody in the town. That doesn't quite sit right with me, and I would want us to,
and it doesn't necessarily have to be me. It could be, we
Well,
could
I mean-
hire someone who's.
well, I'm just saying,
yeah.
it's subsidizing. What is the purpose of this energy manager? What does it really involve? I don't want to use, I appreciate the creativity, but I'm not sure it's, unless we really understand what's the purpose of this role. I'm not sure I would use the two, it's just,
Yeah, can,
yeah, I'm a little.
just to answer that a little bit,
Yeah.
Mark or Denise, can you talk a little bit about what that energy manager typically does for other communities?
Absolutely. So as long as one of the tasks are, being the liaison between us and the town for the aggregation, the rest of the time is completely up to the town. So many of them work on energy efficiency projects for the town, as far as billing, net metering issues, all of those things that just, bog down the gears, if you will, as well as any other task. The person could have a part-time position as the energy manager, meaning it could be someone that already works at the town and has interest in those energy issues that the town currently faces. Maybe that, that funding helps fund that position fully. But it doesn't have to be some brand new hire, and it could be exactly what the town was looking for. I don't know, what the energy issues of the town are. But one thing I did want to make sure, you also can change that rate at any point. I just want you to know that if the board wanted to have further discussions around this, I'm just making this up, February of next year or March, you could raise that rate by whatever you thought that millage you wanted. As long as we, notify everyone and let everyone know that the rate is changing, put it on the website and so forth. You could have those discussions robust here and then make that change later on. It doesn't.
So without, if you're gonna fund a role, you ought to have real clarity what you're funding, because that's what would determine who should pay, right? If this role were solely devoted to those people who participate in this energy program, that's one thing. But if this person or this role would be delving into broader energy issues, that should probably be funded by tax dollars, as opposed to on the backs of these individuals who are solely in this program. So I just think it feels like a rush decision. And I would say we've been waiting more than 2 years to get this thing off the ground. Let's take a baby step, get this thing launched successfully, and then come back to us with, here's what the role is, here's why it's important, and we can have a discussion around that. That would be my recommendation.
To that point, I would think that, let's see what kind of staff time is devoted to this.
Right.
Look, in the next
Yeah.
6 months.
Correct. Yeah.
And then see, maybe we should
Yeah.
supplement
Right.
that. I mean, it could be coming out of DPW. It could
Don't
be
know.
like, with all of a sudden doing more work than she normally has done.
Absolutely.
You gotta assess, right now, it's scary, it sounds like governmental creep to me. But people are kind of moving along, and let's just let's find out something else to spend money on, and I'm a little concerned about that. We're trying to save the taxpayers' money. And it's $8 a month right now, that's good. What's the average?
That's just an average. There are high energy users and low energy
Yeah.
users, right? So.
I think that's a great way to approach it. I wasn't sure if it had come up over the last 2 years. I want to make sure you were aware of that option. And I think it's perfectly fine to put a pin in that.
Yeah.
For now and just move forward with authorizing
Mhm.
the town administrator to execute the municipal aggregation contracts.
Mhm.
Okay, would you
Also, tomorrow, if we get pricing tomorrow, that is drastically different from the indicative pricing that we looked at, that looks good. We don't have to execute the contract, so we'll see what those numbers look like tomorrow, and
I hope you will keep track of the additional work that happens in
Yeah.
town hall because of this. You know, Tiffany and
Yep.
Ruth and you and.
Yep. I will.
So, and sometime in the next 4 months, she'll be prepared to come to us and say, look, this is why we're spending all of this. Do we want? Right, okay.
Yeah, I'm guessing there'll be a large amount when we first put the mailer out, and people are asking a lot of questions. We're gonna have a public forum to that too, so, and then it'll simmer, yeah.
Like everything, anything new. I know I hate change, so I'm sure. So,
Okay, is there any further discussion here or on Zoom?
I would just, is there, when we get the pricing tomorrow, would any one of you or all of you want to have a discussion real quick with me over the phone before I execute, or happy to do that?
I don't think
As long
so.
We hired you, we trust you, so.
Yeah.
You know,
Make
do
it
your
easy.
job,
Says
right?
saving.
Do your job.
You know, as long as it's a savings
Right,
and, you know,
sounds
hopefully the
great.
prices won't be any higher than what you've seen. I would just say if the price is, you know, higher than what you're seeing here and you feel you need a phone call, yeah,
Right.
you don't have to sign anything, but
No, we'll,
you don't need our permission to get a lower price.
get some guidance from you on one element.
Yeah.
We'll be getting the default pricing. We'll get 100% renewable pricing, which would be your most expensive. And then we'll also receive pricing for 25% more locally renewable supply compared to basic service, and 50% more renewable. In my opinion, I think you give residents 3 options: the cheapest, midway, and the highest.
That's enough.
Anything else?
Not 4.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some of these people who look at column A and column B, they're gonna take forever, they can place them there anyway, so.
Right, so I'll just take a look at what the pricing is for 25% and 50% and make a decision which one is better to present to residents.
That sounds good. That sounds fine.
Okay.
Yeah, and when Tiffany's working on the collateral, she'll include, because what the, you know, what needs to be in the documents also is just what the current National Grid price is, right?
Yeah.
So she'll designate the savings there.
Yes.
Okay, who would be the contact person at town hall, for people who want to opt out or opt in?
Well, so actually Colonial is a main point of contact as well. If they want to speak to people at the town hall, I imagine it will be me. We'll see how extensive those phone calls are. It is kind of a technical explanation. And with my energy background, I'm able to understand it a little bit better. But if it's not me, it'll be someone, you know, Debbie, Sue, Tiffany, you know, we'll, if someone in the DPW, Nate or Chuck, we'll figure that out. But Colonial Power, who are the experts, will be a contact point for any resident. that
Should
has
they be the
questions.
first point of contact?
I'd like to push
Yeah.
residents.
Yeah,
I think they'll get a better answer from Colonial.
Yes,
But sometimes residents want to talk to somebody local.
that's true, but I think we also need to train our residents to try to talk directly with the supplier first, or at least ask the question, have you contacted them? Did they not? So we understand whether or not people are actually going to Colonial first and not getting a good response versus just automatically calling town hall when they're in that habit.
I guess the question, for a lot of this publicity material and cards that get sent out, you always have to have a contact information. They're gonna put them or us on that card for information.
Colonial Power's contact information will be on the website. I'm sure the website will be on the mailer. I'm sure we can add Colonial Power's contact information to the mailer as well, right, Mark?
it will be on, but you know, the first contact will be whoever the winning supplier is, Tony, and then us. I just want to say, we really want to take the questions that come in. We've been answering these questions for 20 years. We have no issue answering. The only thing we can't do is verify that it is a town program. They're going to want to speak to someone at the town. Yes, this is a legitimate program. Please call Colonial at this number, and then we'll take the calls from there. But we can't verify that it is an official town program. That's the only thing we can't do.
Okay.
Yeah, and we will give you electronic copies of both mailings, the postcard and the letter, so Tony can put those up or Tiffany can put those up and folks can see that this is this is for the program. You're getting this in the mail. The town is aware. This is legitimate, like Mark said. So those can go up on the website so folks can verify.
And when we talked about adding a cover letter from me
true.
as part of that mailer as
Yeah.
well to give
I
more
think that would
confidence.
be good, and I would just encourage, I like the fact that it is, you know, the Colonial, so Colonial will get the questions.
Mhm.
The people who have been answering the questions for 20 years ought to be answering the questions for our residents.
Yes.
I don't want us to get sucked into that.
Yeah.
It's a no-win situation, so, let's use the advice of, the people we're hiring here to guide us.
And then, so the mailer, middle of October, and the public forum. Denise, when did we say we were gonna be?
I think you mentioned you kind of wanted that on the front end of the 30-day opt-out period. So if the mailer goes out in the middle of October, maybe give that a week or so to hit. You're gonna tell me, and then we're gonna schedule something towards the end of October, if that makes sense. I mean, anytime during those 30 days is fine, but if you kind of wanna front run it, you know, so folks get it in hand and they have questions, there's a place they can go to ask, and we can answer.
I think that's the way to go, because it'll be at the top of their list, you know, they'll just receive the mailer. We can say in that mailer when the forum is gonna be,
Yeah.
and, instead of waiting, you know, a couple weeks.
Yeah, that's good, actually, because then it'll reinforce the fact it's really coming from the town. If you can put the, you know, invitation to the public forum, or say it's gonna be,
Right, in the cover
Yeah.
letters.
yeah, I think that's excellent idea.
When, how do we choose a date for the forum?
I'll have to take a look at all the other public meetings that are going on and try and find a night that works best.
That isn't a Friday.
Yes, yes, yep.
Well, we're not having a fall town meeting, so there should be some nights
And
available.
November 17th. Yeah, we'll find a date that works and doesn't conflict with other things.
There any other questions, issues, doubts? I move that the select board designate the town administrator as the energy manager and authorize him to execute energy contracts with Colonial Power for the town.
Second.
Further discussion? Jeff,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Dan says yes.
John, yes.
All right, so Denise and Mark, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
See you, we'll see you
Sounds
tomorrow.
good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Good night. Thank you.
Another title from your resume.
Yeah, update my signature.
All right.
Okay. The Boosters, Harvest Fest Carnival, okay? Emily, why don't you give us an idea what this is about?
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to review this. This is our third year of hosting the Harvest Fest Carnival. This is a fundraiser for the Manchester Essex Athletic Boosters. And we are just looking for your approval. The carnival will begin on October 17th and go through the 19th. As you probably recall from years past, the carnival company arrives about a week before. A lot of their machinery and some of the trucks that hold some of the smaller rides will be stored up at Singing Beach. They do stay on site, which we have done for the past 2 years and had no challenges. We will be working with the health department very closely this year to just make sure that all our i's are dotted and t's are crossed. We work with police and fire to assure safety, and we try to stick as closely to town guidelines in terms of stopping the event at 9 p.m.
Just to add, has been discussions about the Legion doing alcohol. That's why we waited until now. They don't think they can get their insurances in time, so at this point, there will be no, there won't be a beer tent this evening. You just couldn't fit the insurance.
All right, I get it. Sorry.
But we put them in. But Alan told me yesterday. I don't know if Todd's gonna be such a fool.
Okay, we're all set. All right, I move the select board approve the Manchester Essex Athletic Boosters Harvest Fest Carnival for October 17th through October 19th.
Second. Discussion, John,
Yes.
Anne says yes.
Yeah.
Kathy, Brian,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
okay.
Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Liaison updates. John,
DPW made a video of the meter installation and how it's going to be dealt with. That will show up, I think, on the website, town website, within the next week or so. That's really about the only update, but they've signed their contract, and installation will begin certainly by the 1st of October or so. The seniors, I will leave that for Tony. And library, historic, not too much. It's been quiet. That's good.
yes,
So downtown improvement gets back in session this Wednesday, so I haven't had any meetings in the past month. I did take the action at a prior meeting to meet with Friends of Trees on the tree policy. I had that meeting with Jody Morris today, and what we would like to do, if you guys are aligned with it, is we would like to take an iterative approach. You know, we looked through the tree policy. It's very, it's not very user-friendly, if you will. I'll say that.
it's stiff reading.
It's stiff reading, and so there's some probably good changes we need to make to just restructure the whole thing. However, in order to address some immediate, we're going to take a short-term, long-term approach here, and we'd like to iterate through that. So the first thing we'd like to do is fix the definition of what constitutes a public tree. There is language in our policy around trees within 11 feet of the,
Public way.
whatever. And the reason that language is in there is because we don't, in all cases, have a good understanding of where our public ways are, okay? So the first thing Jody suggested we do is to go to the assessor's office, and for the major streets, just understand, do we have good definitions for around the public way? And then let's just fix the definition of what constitutes a public tree. The second thing we'd like to do is once you have a good definition of a public tree, you can have an inventory of what trees meet that definition. Okay, so that might be step 2. And then clarify the roles and responsibilities around step 3, which is, who's responsible for what. There's a lot of operational maintenance in that policy. Gets that stuff out and just, make sure we're clear who has responsibility for maintaining these public trees and what they're supposed to do at a higher level. And then the last thing, which is the longer term issue, is we have language in our current policy around trees on private property that we believe need some protection. So that's a different issue. we ought to have some more public engagement around that, you know. If you're gonna touch someone's private property or prevent someone from touching a tree on their private property, what do we really want to accomplish there? That's a little bit of a longer term issue and we'd like to defer that. So let's get the definition of public trees right, get the inventory set up and we're gonna rely on the Friends of Trees to help us with this, unless anybody has an objection.
Anything that takes it off our plate.
Absolutely.
First step is getting good, and Lexington it seems to have a good policy that we can, you know, rely on to restructure this thing and make it easy for people to do the right thing. So that's all I have.
Parks and Rec. They're getting busy starting with their after-school program, their licensed after-school program. It's pretty well booked through the owner's after-school program. The pickleball tournament is scheduled for Saturday, the 20th, but next Saturday. It's about the same size as it was last year. They're planning the Wobbling Goblin already, so it's getting that time of year. And they're looking for volunteers for Halloween night, usually at the school. I think it's at the elementary school. For kids to go, their preliminary trick or treating. And the date everyone's excited about is they're opening up the Charter House reservations on October 16th. So if you got a wedding or something planned, get in line first. It's like a feeding frenzy up here on that day. That's all I got.
We heard from the planning board tonight, so I won't go any further into that. Harbor Advisory Committee had a discussion about updating harbor regulations, and they planning a timeline to start probably around the first of the year to update things to coincide with DEP regulations. New software for moorings is here. Tux Point looks like the SEC is going to increase their grant, so we might be looking pretty good there to yeah, for the rotunda to thank you.
I'm just waiting.
To fix that shortfall there. We did get a permit to dump dredge tailings offshore, so we don't have to truck them out, so that's good. The launch service was basically a repeat of last year as far as numbers wise.
I haven't seen anything in there. We need
This
to
is
look
what,
at those.
well, this is what Brian said, so.
Well, so the finance committee and the police needs to take a look at those. Because they need to be looked at on an annual basis because of the agreement, which Tony, if you're not familiar with it, you should get familiar with it. Because if it's not being self-supported, it needs to get shut down. And we outlined all of that in the operations manual or whatever, I forget the name of the document, but it has to be looked at regularly, and if it's not meeting the agreement, the launch goes away.
So as far as ridership, it's pretty much level with last year. There was discussion about enterprise fund for the harbor. They're gonna talk about that more at their next meeting in October. Seems like they would like to push that forward. I think that's what we'll see there. Essex Tech, I was at a missions policy committee meeting last Wednesday night. The state is basically dancing around around apportionment for small towns, and we're absolutely going to need apportionment to not get choked up. So it looks like what they're going to do is leave it up to the individual districts to decide apportionment. That looks like the way it's going right now. And that's about all I got.
Quick question on Harbor Advisory Committee and their role. Should they be invited to the October 6th meeting where we're gonna be talking about the provisional mooring.
We're not talking, I don't care about the provisional mooring program. It's the assignment, specifically the assignment of mooring permits to Manchester.
But we also discussed, is that gonna be the same time we're gonna do the provisional warning?
So I think, so Anne has made it clear at the next meeting, she wants to discuss the very specific narrow issue, okay? On the Manchester Marine mooring assignments over the past 3 years. However, we still have an outstanding conversation we need to have around the mooring assignments and whatever inventory or audit so there's another conversation that still has to happen.
Well,
When-
there's,
when do
there's
we
several
want to have-
conversations
yeah.
that need to happen.
My understanding was that the provisional mooring program was the result of the Manchester Marine
Yeah.
element. That's why I asked the question. So I
Well-
wasn't sure.
Basically, we allowed it for another year to come back and decide what we're gonna do. And now here we are.
So, I guess when it comes to regulations for the harbor, what is the Harbor Advisory Committee's role in that process? To make recommendations
To us.
to the select board? Okay, and was the provisional mooring permit wasn't an amendment to the regs or anything, it was just
It was
something that-
the regulation.
oh, okay.
Well, kind of after the fact, though.
Oh, I mean, it had already happened.
Right,
Yeah.
so this,
Right.
well, I don't know that he knows that, but that's, yeah.
What's
But
up?
I don't recall the Harbor Advisory Committee formally advising us on a lot of the changes that we've made. It was basically Bion coming here with Greg and us all working through it. I don't recall. Now, I think Tony's bringing up a really good point. Should they be advising us before that kind of detail comes,
Or at least, should we invite them?
Yeah.
To be part of that discussion, and I'm
I
just
agree.
asking,
I think it's a good
very
idea.
point.
I like it.
so I'll send them an invite,
Mhm.
let them know that it's coming up.
Yeah.
Yep.
So will we be getting some information ahead of time on this, or?
Yes. Yes, I've been getting caught up to speed on it, so. Let's put it in a memo of some sort with some backup information to share with you before the meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Well. I haven't done anything as a liaison. I should watch the school committee meeting, but it's concurrent with ours, and I haven't found time. But the school committee will be meeting tomorrow night. And so I've got your next meeting. We'll have some information and, in their section for comments, I will recommend that we get the quote collaboration group going as quickly as possible. And that they start working on their budgets now. The Board of Health meets on the 28th, I think. And the Finance Committee hasn't met yet. Okay, that sounds like we have some updates. Is there anything on the consent agenda that anyone wants to take out for individual consideration?
I had sent some requested changes to the minutes to Debbie.
Why don't we, since you've made changes, I've made changes,
We pull that one
why
out.
don't we pull that out and put that on for our next meeting? Is there another discussion of the? Okay,
Okay, I move that the select board approve the consent agenda items with the exception of the September 2nd minutes.
Second.
Sorry, Brian.
Yeah, you hijacked that one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm looking at the one
I don't
above
really
it.
think you are.
Yeah.
I really don't think you are.
Yes,
Yeah,
Kathy,
yes,
Brad.
Yes,
vacation brain.
Yeah.
you're not the first one to just take advantage of it. My good nature.
Okay, next item is this. Administrators.
All right, thank you. The senior center and the council on aging has been an ongoing, weekly, event, or discussion. We received a status update from Kinetic Energy, Kinetic, the firm that was hired to help with the feasibility study for our fundraising effort. They provided an update today to members of the Council on Aging and members of the Friends. It was a good, positive discussion. Our survey of the land at the Masons property came back. While the FEMA flood line does intersect with the very front right corner of the COA addition, in speaking with the building inspector, it doesn't impact our plans because our floor elevation is above the minimum required by FEMA. So that's good. John Harden is updating the footprint plan of the future building, which we need as part of the condo doc process. We met with Greg, Chuck and I met with members of the Masons to talk about the condo docs and the process. They've brought on new legal counsel. They should be getting comments to us. I think they said 10 days. I think 10 days is tomorrow or Thursday.
11 days, no.
This is the new attorney. No, I think
This is more recent.
New attorney, they walked us again?
I think, middle of this week.
Middle of this week. Well, we should have those comments. I gave a preview of what we discussed with them to our legal counsel, Sharon Everett at KP Law. We talked a little bit about some of the discussions that we have had and going to be working with her to make sure that the condo doc negotiation or back and forth, moves quickly. There is a potential timing add-on that the Masons property is registered land, not just recorded land, which adds a lot of time and process with the registry of deeds when you go to close and actually register in that case. There could be an issue with condos on registered land. So legal counsel is providing some information that we can talk with the Masons about what's the fastest way to move this forward. Does it make sense for them to deregister the land while we're going back and forth with the condo docs so that once we're ready, we can record? Or do we move forward with amending the registered land at the registry of deeds and then deal with if we need to deregistering it later? So
I'm completely ignorant on this term. What is registered?
every time I bring this up, that question is asked of me. I don't really know.
I think it
The
was
answer other
government
than-
land at some point, right?
Other than registered land is much harder to change and it's more protected.
Ownership of registered land. is
Yeah.
Harder to change.
Yeah, yep. And so it's more protected and
Okay,
we're
So-
working on that element of it too.
Okay.
so we haven't executed purchase and sales.
I think
we
we
did
did
that,
execute the
yeah.
purchase and sale,
We executed the purchase and
Just haven't
sale,
closed.
but we haven't closed.
We haven't.
right?
Yeah.
So that's your document of intent to close. It's you deal with the registry of deeds when you do actually close on the property.
Okay.
Is there a timeline on that? Is that-
That's what legal counsel, as far as
As
what's the
far,
difference between,
no, as far as, purchase and sales.
We had 90 days, but I don't think anyone's really.
We had 90 days, 90 days ago.
90
101 days ago.
There probably is.
Yeah.
I'd have to take a look at it. But there probably is some sort of
Yeah, I think
expiration
there
there,
is,
but
that's what,
if the two parties are still continuing forward, it's not an issue.
I just didn't know if we had to sign another one at some point.
I don't think so.
You know, we signed that what, at town meeting in April.
Right, that's what,
We also met with the Council on Aging Board to talk about the COA director position and to get their input on things that they would like to see in the job description. So we've done that with the Friends, we've done it with the COA board now. We're gonna be publicizing that open position, hopefully by the end of this week, if not next week, and start the process, the hiring process there. I guess in some, I think while it's taking a lot of time, we've actually, I think, made a lot of small steps of progress between meeting, having a lot of discussions with Susan, with the Friends, with the board, with engineers.
No, I would agree. I think we're including the seniors, the interested seniors, and there's probably a collection of maybe 15 or 20 that want to know on a pretty regular basis where we are. And they're being more and more, they're being included on where are we week to week. Unfortunately, it's going week to week to week to week, but they're kept informed on it. And I think in general, they feel
So
good.
we're running concurrently, doing the leg work and rolling up our sleeves while still looking at fundraising. And anyone who's ever bought or gotten any kind of development realizes that timeframes are never what you want them to be. Okay, your priority is never someone else's priority. And that's
Yeah.
frustrating.
The site plan, that element of it should be completed this week, so that'll check one more box as far as making progress on the condo docs. While we're also as we start to get comments from the Masons and go back and forth on those condo docs, we're working on getting the COA position posted. We're also working with legal on that registered versus recorded land process. Hopefully, if we do need to deregister the land, that can happen concurrently as we continue to work out the details of the.
And now that the site plan is complete, we can start looking at elevations that will help in the fundraising as well. Some schematics on the.
Yes, so we should have some 3D conceptual plans by mid-October. And then the goal right now is to have 10% design and cost estimates by mid-December. So yeah, there's multiple things happening concurrently.
This is gonna be, because the town is doing it, we're tied with Davis Bacon as far as cost go, as far as, it's probably gonna go with union construction versus non-union open shop. Which
When we eventually go out to bid, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be prevailing wage.
Critical path is getting the closing on the building. I will say that the report today was very encouraging from Kinetic. And I'm not saying we're set to go, but based upon comments that we're still at least a month out or so, they could probably move faster than that in terms of starting sale of the money raising process. So that's a pretty critical event to happen.
Yep, and then interior design is another path that we're gonna continue to make progress on with the Friends and the board and the engineer, so. But we just really needed that footprint element for now. Last week, I want to thank the fire department and the police department for putting on an excellent ceremony in recognition of September 11th. They did a wonderful job. A lot of folks came out and supported that. It was a beautiful morning. We had a staff training later that day, all employee staff training on conflict resolution and how to effectively provide the services of the town. Obviously, a lot of work with Colonial Power that we've already discussed. Last week, Chuck and I, and Nate also met with Fuss and O'Neill about Ocean Street to start making progress there. We want to get, as you mentioned, we want to get the public process really kickstarted. I'm hoping to get Fuss and O'Neill to kind of lay out the, what's possible here, what's permittable, so that we have an effective discussion when we go to the neighborhood. This week, Nate, Chuck and I'll be joining them with CDM Smith on Lincoln Street. Well, we're working towards 10% design. And then I just also wanted to mention that next week on the 25th at 5:30 is the CPC public hearing for anyone interested in potentially applying for CPC funds in the upcoming year.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So just a quick one, Tony, I was looking at the items we had for the next meeting on the action item list, things labeled, October 6th. And it looks like we have a bunch of the quarterly reviews coming up, yours included. So, your
And goal setting.
goal setting, that's really what I wanted to focus on. So, I think it's important, had a great first quarter, but we probably need to get those goals
Definitely.
sooner than later, and personally, I'd like them, not the same day as the meeting. Was that?
I want to get those going too, especially the last few weeks. I've really been pulled in a lot of different directions with, and the potential of a special town meeting and having the priorities laid out would be helpful to me too, to make sure that we're.
So if there's anything you need from us in order to get that done, just, because we had our, priority, our planning meeting, right? So hopefully that gave you some, input. But I would suggest even just sending us drafts via email. And, I think it's important to have the meeting with what we know, and there may be some things we don't know and need to add on later. In my view, goals are, it's kind of like a living document. Things change, but you want to just have a plan to work towards.
I think you're putting out fires more than you're doing anything else.
Right.
Yeah.
And then that's always the case though, so that's
Yeah,
why,
always when you start somewhere.
right, that's just natural.
On sidewalk snow clearing, is there anything that you want from me on that before?
So,
Get out early.
yeah, I mean, if you need to push something out to the following meeting, that would be a good one, I think.
Yeah.
But I do think when we're ready to discuss that, we should have Chuck come back here and outline clearly what the current plan is for the upcoming season. It's,
Maybe we need to explain what the
Yeah.
controversy.
yeah, so the controversies have been, lack of consistency, or even just, I would say, communication. Let's start with communication. What should residents expect regarding sidewalk clearing? Because it's kind of a crapshoot. And then I think last season, there were some particular issues with the sidewalks in the downtown area from, not the, core downtown near the businesses, but from, let's say, Pine Street into Central Street, like in front of Town Hall, that whole area. It's very heavily traveled, and the sidewalks were not cleared to a lot of folks' satisfaction. But I just personally like to start with expectations, because I don't feel we clearly communicate what people should expect.
I
Other
think some of
I
that,
think that was also,
yeah,
it was snow, rain.
It was a problem. It
It was-
rained and it
Yeah.
froze.
We had it,
Right.
every community had it.
And it froze, but it's a question of what sidewalks get cleared and when they get cleared.
Yeah.
People don't really know which sidewalks
They don't know
the
what
town
to
is
expect.
responsible for, and if you are responsible, what's an expectation of when you're supposed to get them plowed?
Right, and so for example, like some towns will have, they'll post a list of streets. Phase one, you know, you can expect this to be cleared within 24 hours or whatever. Boom,
Right.
phase two, you know, it's very clear what to expect. Or if the homeowner is expected to do the clearing, that's, you know, there's nowhere where we document that or set that expectation for anybody.
No.
But that's kind of the gist of the overall discussion. Tony, if that helps.
Yes.
Um,
But it was a key storm last year that precipitated all of
Oh, it
that.
was off.
It was just one thing.
It's a key,
Everything froze and they couldn't plow anything.
Yeah,
But-
back to
That's
back.
not true, John, on like where I live on Pine Street. I can tell you every single year, I've been here 12 years, every single year they complain because we don't know what to expect. Some storms, you know, it gets plowed, other storms, they don't get plowed, and the reasons were given as to why they don't get plowed. Oh, they bought a sidewalk clear that's too wide for the street. Oh, the poles get in the way. So there's no clarity around why things happen, why things are the way they are, and what we should expect. And then you get a bad storm, like they're saying from last year, where it's just hard to manage the melting ice. That just exacerbates an existing situation that's not that great,
Okay,
more than you wanted to know.
no, that helps me out a lot.
And just on top of that, the sidewalks near the routes to school.
Yeah.
You know, even though most of the kids are driven, we really ought to make sure that kids aren't climbing over ice packs.
Yeah, usually those are your phase ones
Yeah.
as well as public, public buildings or
Mhm.
nursing homes or,
Right.
things like that. It does reset if you have, if another storm comes within a certain amount of time. But yeah, that's the idea.
And just need to know where.
And like I said, if we have some expectation that homeowners should be clearing them, that's not well understood. I lived in other places where we knew it's our job to clear the sidewalks.
I think DPW has a plan color coded with those types of phases. It may never have been publicized though, so.
It's, and didn't seem to be executed
Okay.
consistently, lots of inconsistency, so. Again,
Yes,
not clear.
all right.
Yes.
My name is Tom Grady. I live in Fort Park Road. I'm a board member of the Manchester Housing, but I'm not here to represent the Manchester Housing Authority. I think it was the end of June. Mr. Cooper, who was elected to the board, resigned. And that seat has been vacant, and we have 4 voting members now, and we need a 5th one. Now, as I understand it, I think there's 2 candidates now that have submitted applications to Debbie Powers. I'm dating myself. That one position, I don't know either one of them, but I want to know why you haven't voted on one of these candidates as being filling that the seat.
I'll have to take a look at it. I'll talk with Debbie tomorrow. I know we haven't. I don't know, do we typically publicize the open seat and then?
Yep.
Ask for applications within a certain time frame?
Yep.
All right, so I'll talk with Debbie about that tomorrow and see if we can get that process kickstarted.
It wasn't up to you at all. It was just up to the selectmen.
You don't change that.
That's correct. That's correct. I don't appoint.
Is that if we haven't seen,
We haven't seen the
We
candidate.
we haven't seen the candidates, we haven't interviewed anybody, so.
we haven't seen the resumes.
So there's a,
Well, whose fault is that? I'm,
We're not,
Yeah.
we're gonna look into it. I thought we were. Isn't
I
it
talked to
now?
that girl Debbie down there.
We're not.
Did you speak with her?
I'll come with you, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And she acknowledges that the,
I thought we were gonna vote on that tonight.
no,
not on the agenda.
no.
No, and I think we've talked a little bit about improving the process of the interview process, but also awareness, I think, too, so that when these seats are vacated, equal opportunity for residents to put their name in the hat versus just, I got someone, or, you know, it's
Yeah,
someone's.
and I think we're doing a much better job of that. The open postings have brought forth new blood, so.
Yeah.
I think that's-
So I know since I've been here, we haven't mentioned it, so I'll make sure that we get it out there, set a date. And once that date expires, I'll do the interviews. I can invite, you know, the chairperson of the board and then come to the select board with a recommendation.
Okay.
So, thank you for bringing that to our attention.
John?
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Good,
Thanks, so.
motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Aye.
Aye.